Thank you for calling Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost's Help Center. We are committed to assisting you in any way that we can. Information you receive from the Attorney General's office is informational guidance. It is not legal advice. Any information provided to the Attorney General is considered a public record. Please note that your call may be monitored or recorded for quality assurance purposes. For questions about tax offset, press 1. For questions about a debt owed to a state agency, press 2. For guidance on how to report unemployment identity theft, press 3. For questions about a background check, press 4. For all other calls, please press 5 or stay on the line for the next available representative. Please hold while we transfer your call to the next available agent.
Welcome to the office of Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost. My name is Julie. Have you contacted us about this topic before?
Hi, Julie. To be honest with you, I don't recall.
Okay, may I have your first and last name, please?
It's actually my given name. I'll just give you my given name, which is Brandon, and my family name, which is Killeran. It's similar to the first and last name, but not all capital letters.
Okay, and I'm sorry, can you spell your last name?
It's all capital letters, which is different from my given name. It's Killoran.
All right, thank you. And what is your mailing address, please?
Actually, I don't currently have one.
Okay, all right. And do you have a phone number you'd like to give me in case we're disconnected?
Sure. Area code 740-868-7028.
All right, thank you. And how can I help you this morning?
So, I've got a situation where I have unfortunately been been subjected to, rather, some serious and egregious crimes from public servants, specifically police officers, but also conspiring with people such as, they call themselves the assistant county prosecutor, committing fraud and conspiring to deprive me of my rights through color of law actions. And recently, there was a fraudulent document that was passed off by the assistant county prosecutor, Michael Hughes, which he gave to Donald Bates, who is a tenured detective with the Zanesville Police Department. And they worked together, conspired to pass off this fraudulent document, supposedly to release property that had nothing to do with any court cases or anything. It was property that the police department had taken unlawfully, and for roughly 2 years refused to release until this fraudulent document was signed. And so when I had my trustee go retrieve the property, they stated that the trustee needed to sign this document. And she didn't know any better. She was trusting the word of the quote-unquote authorities, right? The police officer, the detective, and the county prosecutor, thinking, they should be doing the right thing, right? She didn't question them. She, gave them the benefit of the doubt. Well, come to find out, this document is fraudulent. And I even have the confession of the perpetrators, or the confessions, rather, recorded. I had a conversation with both of them individually about it, and they confessed to what they did. In fact, I've got the recorded conversations that are posted to a YouTube channel that I utilize for educational purposes, and as well to convey this information to the proper quote-unquote authorities for consideration, because these people need to be charged and arrested formally for their crimes. And how they can get away with doing this and not be held accountable, even having the sheriff's department right there being part of it too, part of the court, handling the court security, the bailiffs and so forth, and running the jail. So, at this point, based on what this assistant prosecutor did, not only through the court case originally that I had the unfortunate experience of going through. But then after the fact, when he committed fraud the second time, by providing this fraudulent document to the Zanesville Police Department, Representative Donald Bates. Excuse me. And so I have several instances here now where these public servants have committed blatant fraud. I mean, frankly, between you and I, if anybody should know what an affidavit is and what it isn't, it's probably an attorney, right? I would think that's probably one of the first things that they learn in law school is what an affidavit is, how to create an affidavit, and so on and so forth. But yet we have assistant county prosecutors passing these documents fraudulently, as if they didn't know any better. So that's a little concerning. Yeah, so that's a little concerning when we have people in these positions who have a duty and obligation to know the difference, that should have the education to know the difference, and it should be a prerequisite, a qualification for them to have that position in the first place. But then perform the activity anyways. So that shows a willingness and a knowing that they knowingly performed the crime, right? Because they have a duty and obligation to know better. I mean, from my perspective and to my knowledge, every court case is based on an affidavit. So if this prosecuting attorney or assistant prosecuting attorney supposedly has no idea what an affidavit is,
so a couple of things, like as far as, I know you said the police and the sheriff and that they're all involved in what, if you do have complaints against them, there is a chain of command that you would follow with that, which I can give you, because Ohio is a home rule state. So that would mean that no state elected official has the authority to oversee the day-to-day operations of another elected official. Yeah. Consequently, the Ohio Attorney General's office does not have authority over any law enforcement office or any city mayor's office. But with the police complaints, first you would contact the chief of police, and then if there's no resolution there, then you contact the police department's internal affairs department.
Yeah, they don't have one.
Then would be the city mayor, and then past the mayor would be the U.S. Department of Justice. Mm-hmm. And then after that, then it is a private legal matter. Oh, okay. So I can give you the phone number for the U.S. Department of Justice if you would like.
I've already got it. So I mean, I guess at this point it's safe to say that it's a conspiracy from the top to bottom, because of the fact that these incompetent public servants from Ohio have created a situation where they can't hold anybody accountable within their own state. I think that shows conspiracy and complicitness, because if they were interested in protecting the people, they wouldn't remove the accountability from the table, right? So from my perspective, that shows even further conspiracy, because of the fact that I have forwarded at the time when I forwarded the information, all the information I had at that time, I forwarded to the DOJ and the FBI. In fact, I sent copies of my affidavits to the director of the FBI, but no one bothered to respond. No one really seems to care. And so we have the ones that are supposed to, according to the Ohio rules, of course, the ones that are supposed to hold these people accountable don't care. And from my perspective, what seems to be criminal public servants from the state of Ohio setting up a situation where they don't even have to hold their own their own colleagues accountable. Maybe this is why this sort of thing happens here, because there is no accountability. And even though you all are supposed to, handle the police departments, especially when they're committing crimes, but then use the excuse of, well, it's a home rule state. How is any of the people here supposed to get resolution or to hold these public servants to a standards when you all make excuses for them?
That's why there is the chain of command in line for the issues to be taken care of. So
let me stop you there, because the chain of command has completely and utterly failed. The chief of police doesn't give a damn. He's part of it too. The public safety director, in fact, he supposedly has over 20 years experience with law enforcement, but he doesn't even realize that there's a Ohio Revised Code on the books that requires the municipality to handle noise complaints. Isn't that amazing? So they don't even understand or know the laws that they're supposed to enforce. And there's no accountability, but yet, I guess we the people are supposed to be okay with that? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm just saying, I'm telling you what the chain of command is, and then, the one step U.S. Department of Justice, and then the next step past that would be, that it would be a private legal matter. So it's not, just because you didn't get resolution with the U.S. Department of Justice, it is, you still obviously have the right to contact an attorney.
I mean, see, this is the situation. They didn't even lift a finger. This is the situation. If I sneeze wrong, I get put in jail. And that, of course, that's a little bit of a exaggerated example, but you get might catch my drift. Yet these people commit fraud blatantly and openly, use color of law actions to deprive people of their rights. The quote unquote constituency of these elected officials, the governor, the Troy Balderson. Matter of fact, this is all going on and taking place in the hometown of Troy Balderson, a sitting congressman. Isn't that amazing? So, I mean,
Have you contacted the county commissioner's office?
Yeah, I've tried to. They don't care either. I've tried to contact the city council representative for the area, but they don't care either. See, there's no accountability, so they don't care. If there was accountability for them, if they got in trouble for not doing their job, then there would be a higher standard. But because everybody makes excuses and passes the buck, see, I think Ohio should change their motto. It should be pass the buck eyes. Because that's what Ohioans do, is pass the buck. Bunch of cowards, in my opinion. Not just the people, but obviously the public servants, because the people allow this to go on, and the public servants are creating a situation where they can commit crimes and get away with it. Because after all, I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. Before the fraud was committed by the prosecutor, why would the prosecutor charge a police officer because of the fact that, and that's not a question for you, it's kind of a rhetorical question, because of the fact that the police officers are typically the ones that feed the prosecutors the cases that they profit from. So it would be like biting the hand that feeds them. Or possibly they would look at it as maybe a conflict of interest because they would be cutting off their income. Whether personally or for the county or whichever capacity, doesn't really matter. It's all, from my perspective, it's all conspiracy. So, like I said before, the fraud was committed by the prosecutor. They were ignoring the crimes being committed by the police officers. So, it's all fine and dandy to tell me about this chain of command. But let's be honest with ourselves. And from my experience, personally, for lack of better terms, this so-called chain of command is not only broken, but it's dysfunctional. And not a damn one of these public servants care that their colleagues are committing crimes and abusing the public. Because let's be frank, when I call and file complaints or claims or grievances, however you want to characterize it, when I file grievances about local area noise that's affecting the entire city, and everyone else apparently is too afraid to call and complain about it because they'll probably, I guess, be treated like I was. So these public servants can ignore established state law that's been put on the books by the legislature and deprive me of my rights, strip me of my rights and property, steal from me, threaten my life, threaten my property, and no one cares. Do you see the problem there?
And I do understand your frustration. I mean, I obviously don't know all this, the situation and all the particulars. But, if you feel that, state law needs to be changed or what, then you can contact your state legislators. I'm just providing you with the information that we have. So, I mean, I've given you the chain of command and, past those, there's the private legal matters.
I think you all need to be arrested.
I can give you the...
I think every one of you need to be arrested, honestly, because I think you are all complicit in allowing this type of malfeasance, these egregious violations of the Constitution, these egregious violations of the law to take place. Because you constantly make excuses. Well, we can't do anything about that because we're a home rule state. Well, who in the hell determined that? That it was a home rule state? Because I highly doubt it was the people. I'm sure there was probably some manipulation, maybe, late night passing of legislation to, do that. I mean, I don't know. I'm just speculating. But it's very odd to me that in light of the current events of today and the criminal activity that's blatantly going on in different areas, that we have all of these public servants that are getting paid by the quote-unquote state to do certain jobs, but they're not doing the jobs. They're not holding their colleagues accountable. And I can only surmise that it's because of the conspiracy for all these public servants to conspire together to deprive we the people of our rights, so that way they can potentially, I don't know, destroy the state or destroy the people entirely. I mean, I'm not sure, what the intention is behind it, but it definitely doesn't seem to be honorable or have any integrity behind it.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way.
Well, I'm sorry that you all are incompetent. I mean, when I talk to Troy Balderson's office and they tell me specifically that the Attorney General's office handles this sort of thing, I mean, I would think that they would know, what you guys can and can't do, and why they would refer me to your guys' office or to this office when they should know damn well that you guys can't do anything about it because of what you explained. So it comes back to, I guess, why can't I get an honest answer, a truthful answer from anybody? Because it seems like nobody really knows what's going on or what they're supposed to do or who does what. Like, for example, you mentioned this chain of command. Well, I'm not an employee. I'm not in the military anymore. So as far as chain of command, that doesn't apply to me. If someone commits a crime, if somebody violates my rights, if somebody causes me loss, injury, or harm, I don't go through a chain of command to ask for them or beg them for them to help me. No, I hold that person accountable. But when all of the avenues or vehicles or however you want to characterize it that are there, put in place to get resolution for situations like this have been removed in a way that doesn't provide any accountability for these public servants, that seems to me to be a conspiracy. And if anybody should know better, it should be the public servants. But hey, I guess they're profiting from it, so why would they care, right? It benefits them to not care or pay attention. Right?
I gave you the chain of command, and then, it was the one step was the U.S. Department of Justice, and then past that is a private legal matter. So I can give you the phone number for the Ohio State Bar Association if you would like.
Oh, why would I want the number to a British organization? It's the British Accreditation Registry. They're a form of the British government that is, from my perspective, it seems, working to subvert the Constitution by color of law actions in the court. And then they cover for each other, just like in this situation where I was explaining to you, where the county assistant prosecutor was conspiring with the police detective to deprive me of my rights. So if they're conspiring together, what difference does it make if there's a chain of command? What difference does it make if any of this? I think, quite frankly, I'm kind of answering my own question by making these points because of the fact that it seems like nobody cares. And unfortunately, I don't know. It doesn't seem like the future is very bright for this quote unquote state. Because if this is the way the public servants are handling things, well, they're just destroying everything, and eventually it's all going to come crumbling down. But, I mean, just realize you're a part of that. So whether you want to accept it or not, you've sold your soul to work for an organization that is actively, seemingly working to destroy the country and destroy the Constitution and any protections that we the people have from tyranny. So if you're okay with that, then I guess have a good day. But I mean, I don't know how anybody with a conscience can, be okay with that.
All right. Well, thank you for calling, and you have a good day.
Yeah, thanks for nothing.